Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We've got a really interesting one today
Yeah,
about about bird flu.
it is. Yeah.
But we've got some new reports here that are pretty unusual and kind of raising some eyebrows. So we want to dig in.
Definitely.
So let's jump right in. We're talking about a possible case of bird flu, but this time it's in a child in California.
Wow.
And the thing that's really got everyone scratching their heads here is that this child, they had absolutely no known contact with any infected animals.
Right, that's the weird part.
So, like, how is that even possible?
Right. Well, it's definitely a curious case. And I think it really shows us how much we still have to learn about this virus.
Yeah.
But to really understand why this is such a strange situation, I think we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture first.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it.
So, bird flu, or avian influenza, as it's also called,
Hmm.
it's been really hitting our poultry farms hard
Yeah, it has been.
across the U.S. But the good news is that human infections are still pretty rare.
Right. Yeah. The reports mentioned there have only been 53 cases in the U.S. this year,
Yeah.
and almost all of them were people who were, working directly with infected birds, like on poultry farms.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what makes this case with the child in California so unusual, right?
Yeah.
Um, so this child, they had, mild symptoms, thankfully.
Okay.
They're recovering at home, and there's no indication that they spread the virus to anyone else.
That's good. Eh?
But the big mystery here, right, is the source of the infection.
Yeah.
Like,
Huh?
where did it come from? We just don't know.
It's like a medical puzzle.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, the reports also mentioned that this child tested positive for some other, common respiratory viruses at the same time. So could that be the real reason behind the symptoms, you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point, and it really does complicate things further. The California Department of Public Health, they're really emphasizing that there's no evidence of human-to-human transmission with this case.
Mm.
What that means is the virus isn't easily spread from one person to another, like, the common cold or something like that.
Right, right.
But here's where things get even more confusing.
Okay.
There was a follow-up test done on the child, like 4 days after the initial positive test, and it actually came back negative.
Wait, so a negative test after a positive one? What's going on there?
I know, right?
Yeah.
It really does make you question the accuracy of that first test, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we have to remember that we're dealing with a virus here, and viruses can mutate.
Mm-hmm.
Different strains can behave in different ways.
Okay.
So it's possible that that initial test maybe picked up on a strain that wasn't actually causing the illness.
Hmm. Okay. So all this uncertainty about how accurate the tests are makes me think about the case of the Canadian teenager that was also mentioned in these reports.
Right.
That one's even more concerning
Yeah.
because they were hospitalized and in critical condition,
Yeah.
and they also didn't have any known exposure to farm animals either.
That's the thing.
So that's kind of scary.
It is. It's very concerning, and it really raises that question: if direct contact with poultry isn't always necessary for infection, then what else could be going on?
Right, exactly.
Are there other ways that this virus is spreading that maybe are less obvious or that we haven't discovered yet?
Yeah, that is a scary thought.
It's a little unnerving for sure.
So the reports also mention where most of these cases are happening. California has the most with 27, then Washington with 11, and Colorado with 10. Do you have any thoughts on why some states are seeing more cases than others?
Well, in California's case, they have a really large poultry industry,
Right.
which logically just increases the chances of exposure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's also important to remember that different states, they have different testing and surveillance programs in place. Oh, okay.
So, if a state's really actively looking for bird flu cases, they're probably going to find more than a state that's not doing as much testing or surveillance.
Right, right. Makes sense. So given all of this uncertainty, like, how worried should we be?
I think, it's completely understandable to be concerned, but it's also really important to keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
The risk to the general public overall, it remains low.
Okay, that's good.
So try not to panic.
Yeah, don't panic, everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for our listeners, the big takeaway here is that while it's still rare, bird flu can infect humans even without direct contact with poultry.
That's right.
And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Could there be like hidden pathways of transmission that we just haven't discovered yet? It's something to think about as we continue to learn more with this virus.
Absolutely. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.